Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners, to a brand new edition of the Pewter Pregame Show, brought to you by our friends over at BetUS. We're back on a Sunday schedule, short week for the Buccaneers. They are home, taking on the San Francisco 49ers, a battle of the Bays, as the Bucs social media account has been marketing. And we'll see if Tampa Bay can get off the schneid after losing three in a row. So we're going to break this game down, talk about some of the specific matchups taking place this afternoon at 1 o'clock. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow co-host and the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, Scott Reynolds. Scott, what's up?
How are you? Looking forward to this game. This is going to be a very pivotal game for the Bucs. This feels like the season's kind of riding on this one. Huge difference just psychologically, plus in the win-loss column. If this team slides to 4-6 versus maybe winning and going to 5-5 heading into the bye week, I think that would kind of allow this team and the fan base to breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. Matt, if they do lose today to the 49ers, a team they've lost to in each of the last two seasons, 2 years ago was 35-7 with Tom Brady out in San Francisco. Last year in San Fran, a little bit better on the scoreboard, 27-14. Still, Brock Purdy's mastery over Todd Bowles and this Bucs defense, has them 2-0 heading into the Bucs in today's game. But yeah, this is a big game. It feels like the Bucs playoff path can either stay on course or veer off the road, depending on what happens by 4 o'clock today, Eastern time.
Yeah, I don't want to be too dramatic, but it feels like everything hangs in the balance with this game taking place at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Because if they lose, they've lost 4 in a row. Odds are if they lose, it's likely because the defense struggled once again.
Yeah.
What's the future of Todd Bowles? What's the fate of this team? People start planning for the offseason and the draft and things of that nature. But if they win, you savor that feeling of a victory for a whole nother week because they go into the bye, and then their schedule, as we've talked about, eases up a lot more. Everything, as crazy as it sounds, everything is still in front of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if they can find a way to win this afternoon. It's not going to be easy. I don't think it's going to be pretty either. I think it's going to be a pretty ugly game for the Bucs if they want to end up winning this one. But this offense has been playing too well to not win a tough game during this quote-unquote gauntlet that we all looked at once the schedule dropped back in April or May, whenever it comes out. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy, but it is possible.
It is.
Believe, Bucs fans.
Yeah, it just feels like this has got to be a game where Todd Bowles rises up, it comes up with some answers for Kyle Shanahan's offense, which is diverse, which has had a lot of success against the Buccaneers. They're without Brandon Ayuk today. They're their star receiver, but they do have probably Deebo Samuel coming into the game. He is listed as questionable. He's had an entire week to rest. My guess is that he will play. Christian McCaffrey expected to make his 2024 debut today. And sometimes we've seen it, right? Guys come in and they make a splash when they return to action. Antoine Winfield Jr., prime example of that, after missing 4 games, gets that big scoop and score in New Orleans, helps the team win, right? Other times, players that they come back and they kind of ease their way into it. They have some rust. I think we even saw that with Lou Gedeke from the Bucs perspective. Didn't look great in New Orleans, right? And struggled in that game, as to be expected. But a lot of weapons on this team. Juwan Jennings, George Kittle. There's going to be a lot that Todd Bowles and this defense have to account for. And I think it's important that we should note there's a couple of elevations. Marquez Callaway was elevated from the practice squad, and that may be to safeguard the Buccaneers just in case, and we saw this last week, the Bucs were expecting to have Jalen McMillan in Kansas City. That wasn't the case. He ended up being a game-time decision, and he opted out. It felt like he couldn't go due to the hamstring. And so the team has elevated Marquez Callaway again, hoping that McMillan can play today. But just in case he can't, Matt, they have at least another wide receiver on this team. Callaway, I think, played 1 snap last week. But they're really hoping that McMillan can overcome this hamstring injury. We know that Sterling Shepard will play, and he's been dealing with a very similar hamstring injury.
Yeah, I'm really looking for any wide receiver to step up. We know Cade Otton at tight end is going to be the focal point of the passing game for the Buccaneers. But up until the final drive against Kansas City, where the Bucs tied the game up, and yes, they should have gone for 2, but at this point, we got to move on. Up until that last drive, the receivers were nowhere to be found. I mean, people were singing the praises of Rakim Jarrett, that he's the next Jerry Rice. He's the next Randy Moss. Oh, my goodness. Rakim Jarrett had a couple of catches in garbage time in a game against the Ravens. He's going to be the next big thing. And he had a very pedestrian 1 catch for 9 yards. And yes, he made it flashy. He broke a tackle, and that was fantastic. But that was too few and far between. Come on, Rakim Jarrett. Show me a little bit of something this afternoon against the 49ers, which – hey, your rookie season, the one time you had a moment was against the San Francisco 49ers. You also tore your quad on the same play. You had a nice moment up until tearing your quad. Sterling Shepard, can you do that consistently? That last drive, he was fantastic. Can you do that for a full 60 minutes? Trey Palmer, nice play at the end, getting to the 1-yard line. Fantastic.
Yep.
Applause, 2 thumbs up. Do it more, all right? Yeah. Like, you were drafted to this team to make a splash, have a moment. You're not doing it in special teams. You're the most pedestrian punt returner I've seen, and that's a compliment to Jalen Darden, who would run out of bounds. So come on, Bucs wide receivers. I'm a little tired of just the mundane boringness of this team that loses the same way. Show me something, wide receivers.
Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. We want to appreciate Zach Jarvis for showing us something. He became a YouTube channel member, so we greatly appreciate that. And good morning to Christopher Oxentine and a lot of our Buccaneer fans that are usually with us. Even Callum Shaw, a Pewter Report TV channel member from all the way over there in the UK, mate. Let's go. Appreciate it.
That's a pretty good accent.
Yeah.
A little Australian, but
it kind of waffles between Australia and the UK. I'm working on it though.
We have some Australian fans though, so
exactly, yes. And of course, as he says, please, no more injuries. Yeah, this has been a
God
season.
Willing.
Holy smokes. Yeah, so we're going to get to our previews in just a few minutes, but you guys know the rules. Tell us the rules, Matt.
Yeah, you super chat us. We get to your question or comment. Really doesn't matter what it is because you control the subject when it comes to the super chat. So thank you, Bucs Basement, for this $9.99 super chat, who says, in NFL history, there are 826 times a team has scored 162 plus points, in a 5-game span. Of those 826, just 3 managed only 1 win. The 2024 Bucs at 1-4, the 2019 Bucs at 1-4, and the 1983 Chiefs also 1-4. Per Greg Allman.
Yeah, if you go back to 2019, that was Bruce Arians' first season in Tampa Bay. Jameis Winston put up a lot of points.
He did.
And but also threw a lot of interceptions. And that was kind of a trend, if you would allow me to use that term, because it was a trend that never ended for Jameis, not just in Tampa, but also in New Orleans and also in Cleveland, as we found out last week. Yeah, it's crazy. The offense has done its job. And that's kind of what I was saying at the top of the show. Todd Bowles and his defense, they've got to come up with some plays. Some stops on third down would be nice. Remember, the Chiefs converted 12 of 18. That's 67% on third down on Monday night. And even though the defense felt like it played better, Matt, we saw it, and we talked about it last Monday morning on our last Pewter pregame show. It felt like the Buccaneers had to be +2 in the turnover margin. They were +1. They had a hell of a play by Tyke Smith, forcing his 3rd fumble of the season. That was on Travis Kelce, recovered by Josh Hayes. And, Matt, it's a thing where it feels like, because it seems to me the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers, they're kind of on an even footing to me. I know that the Chiefs dominated the 49ers a couple weeks ago, but I bet you if they played 10 times, Kansas City might win 6 or 7, but these are going to be closer games. We saw what happened when Tampa Bay was +1. Wasn't good enough, right? It feels like they got to be +2 today. They have to really count on some takeaways from this Bucs defense, something that's been very hard to come by the last couple of weeks. No interceptions since picking off Kirk Cousins in week 5. No, I take that back. Week 6, they had an interception against Spencer Rattler. But really, since week 6,
Smith.
No interceptions.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right? That you have to win the turnover margin by 2 in order to win this game. But you know what? I mean, that's the way it goes with upsets. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's college football, if it's the NFL. 9 out of 10 times, if the underdog ends up winning the game, it's not because they like overpowered or overmatched the opponent. It's because they benefited from a wacky special teams play or an interception or a fumble or something like that.
That's right.
And the Bucs, like, look at when they beat Washington in week 1. I know that was eons ago. Or even when they beat the Eagles or the Saints a couple weeks ago. They built a lead. They had momentum, and then the turnover started coming. It's much tougher when you're in a close back-and-forth game to get those turnovers because the offense isn't the opponent's offense. They're not pressing. They're not trying to push the envelope because they don't need to. They can still play within their game. They got to find a way to build a lead so the 49ers maybe, hopefully, can kind of get out of rhythm, get out of their comfort zone, and maybe that's how you spark an interception because, like you said, the interceptions are not coming. And I don't know, fumbles, yes, great athletic plays. Love it when Levante David does it. Love it when Tyke Smith does it because he's a rookie and he's been doing it nonstop. But those feel a little more fluky. Yes, you put in the effort, you try to punch it out, but I don't know. It's tougher to earn the forced fumbles. It's more of a freak play than something specific. So hopefully the interceptions come today. I don't feel confident about it, though. Thanks to Eric Moreno.
I was going to say, to your point, how about a sack fumble from anybody along the defensive line? How about that?
Anyone.
That's not outlawed. The NFL has not outlawed the sack fumble. So
Todd Bowles should implement a rule and an incentive. If you're an outside linebacker and you get a sack today, you immediately get to start because nobody else has earned the role of starting an outside linebacker.
Agreed.
Thanks to Eric Moreno for this $5 super chat. Says, update on Jalen McMillan. Is he playing? How about Tyke Smith and Jordan Whitehead?
Yeah, McMillan apparently is going to be a game time decision. That's what we know right now. Again, we felt, and I even wrote it last Monday, that McMillan was going to play. That was the expectation. Even though they had elevated Marquez Callaway as a safeguard, just in case he didn't, they were expecting him to play. Matter of fact, Baker Mayfield said after the game, like, yeah, I found out he wasn't going to be able to go after our pregame warmup. I mean, that's how close it went to the wire. He needs to play. Sterling Shepard's going through a similar type of hamstring injury. And again, missed 2 practices, limited on Friday, right? Same as Jalen McMillan. Shepard's going to play. He's not even listed as questionable. And that's the type of professionalism that you need. You got to put your body in the line. Folks, there's 365 days in a year. This team is counting on you for 17 if you're a player. 17 days out of 365. And yes, sometimes you can go out there, and I don't know if Jalen McMillan got shell-shocked seeing what happened to Mike Evans. It was unfortunate. And maybe Mike Evans, after catching that first touchdown, should have said, man, this hamstring just pulled on me again. And maybe they should have shut him down after that in the first quarter. He went out there, dropped the touchdown. Why? Because his hamstring just about exploded is what it seemed like. He was writhing around in pain. Maybe that has Jalen McMillan a little spooked. I don't know. But at the end of the day, you've got to prepare yourself and your body to play for 17 days out of the year. This team is counting on you. And that's a lesson that Jalen McMillan has to learn. Tyke Smith tweaked his knee apparently on Friday. Matt, you've talked about it before. These last practices of the week, these injuries just pop up. I have no idea. Maybe they need to do the walkthroughs on Friday, right? Yeah. And then have the hard practices Wednesday and Thursday. Maybe that's what they need to do because this is getting ridiculous. The expectation is Tyke Smith will play. They did not elevate another corner, and they're already down Jamel Dean, who's on injured reserve. So they expect him to play. Jordan Whitehead has been battling a quad injury. Maybe that's had something to do with his poor play this year. He did the same thing, missed a couple practices, was limited. They're expecting him to go as well.
Thank you to Revfish with this $4.99 super chat. Going to the game today. Thanks for the coverage. Not a must win, but like you said, if we put up aim effort like Monday, the same effort like Monday, but win, season looks good. I guess it's technically not a must-win game because there is a scenario where the Bucs do win out after the bye. Very difficult, but possible. So maybe it's not a must-win in that aspect, but, this is – and we usually say this in, like, December and January, like, this is the closest to a playoff game that it could be. It feels like this one's maybe not a playoff game, but an elimination game for sure. So Bucs need to get it together.
Well, this is important because this is a head-to-head matchup, right, against the 49ers. If the 49ers don't win the NFC West, guess what? They'll be in contention with a Tampa Bay team for a wild card spot. Right now, the Buccaneers are looking good in the fact that whoever wins the NFC East, Philadelphia or Washington, the Buccaneers have beaten both those teams head-to-head. So The loser of those two teams, the Eagles and the Commodes, will be in contention with the Bucs for a wild card spot. The reason I'm ruling out the Buccaneers from being in contention to win the NFC South is Tampa Bay essentially has to go 7-2 down the stretch. 7-2.
Yeah.
Last year they went 5-3 down the last 8 games, and everyone wants to focus on the 5-1 out of the last 6 games. That's fine, but out of the last 8 games, and we are in the 8-game window right now. Last 8 games of the season, they only went 5-3. So as great as they played down the stretch, they still lost 3 games. So, having said that, today, who did the Falcons play today, Matt? The Saints.
I actually don't know. Oh,
they played the Saints. Okay. So right now they have a 2-game lead over the Buccaneers, essentially a 3-game because of the head-to-head tiebreaker. Should the Bucs lose today and the Falcons win today, now the lead in the NFC South grows to 3 games, which is essentially 4 because of the head-to-head tiebreaker. That's how important today's game is. It can give the Buccaneers a head-to-head win over another NFC rival in the San Francisco 49ers that will be battling the Bucs for a wild card spot. And it still puts the Buccaneers mathematically in more of a potential steal of the NFC South crown because they're only holding serve with the 49ers or with the Falcons. Now, if the Falcons lose to the Saints and the Buccaneers win, that's big because you've really gained some ground. But right now, the Buccaneers, if they lose today and the Falcons win, that really separates Atlanta in the NFC South.
Yeah, winning the division's a pipe dream. I'm not going to waste my breath talking about the Bucs winning the division. There's like little to no shot of them. If the Falcons lose today, then sure, I'm happy to entertain this on the post-game show, on all the podcasts next week. But there's just such a little chance of that happening.
They
I'm
would
not
have
going to
to
waste my time.
Implode.
Yeah, it would have to be a major, major collapse. And you know what? If the Falcons choke, let's do a whole podcast dedicated to the Falcons choking. We might not even talk about the Buccaneers. We'll spend a whole 55 minutes on the Falcons losing. Yeah. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Thanks to Cody Parsons for this $10 super chat, who says, we'll be at the game today. Every time I'm in attendance, we never lose. Here's to keeping that streak. Go Bucs. That's the energy I'm looking for, Cody Parsons. Hope you have a great time today. Same with Rev Fish, who said earlier that he's going to the game. We may have to start a GoFundMe to get you tickets to every single Bucs home game if that streak is going to continue. So, thank you for the super chat.
Yep. And Joel Elrican, a Pewter Report TV channel member, says, I feel the same way when I go. And good morning, Pewter people. Happy game day. We appreciate you, Joel Elrican, for not just being a member for 3 months, but also all of those gift subscriptions that you bestow on your fellow Pewter Report chat mates here. We greatly appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. Also, shout out to Paul, a.k.a. OG Baker Bro, a Pewter Report YouTube channel member, who says, starts with the fire flame emoji. Encourage everyone to read SR's mid-season awards column on Pewter Report. It's a great read and a perfect synopsis of the first half of the season. Yes, I second that, Paul, a.k.a. OG Baker Bro.
Appreciate that.
Definitely a fantastic read.
Well, the thing is, I wrote it up, but the votes were tallied by all of the Pewter reporters. I asked everybody for their input on the players, the MVPs, the most improved player, disappointing, etc. So it's more of a collaborative effort. I wrote it up, but it kind of represents our views here at Pewter Reports and how we see the first half of the season. I just dropped it in the chat. So yeah, give it a read before kickoff. Appreciate it.
Do it up. All right. Go ahead.
We also appreciate our title sponsor for the Pewter pregame show, which is BetUS. If you have not put your money down yet on any of the games today, well, do so now. And you can do so by signing up with BetUS. BetUS will give you 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits, not just the first one, your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. Use the promo code Pewter when you sign up. And that lets BetUS know that we sent them your way, and we greatly appreciate that. We have to hit a couple of new members each month, and we've been able to do that. So thank you for your support. If you haven't had the chance to sign up with BetUS, it's fun. You can bet UFC, NBA, NHL, college football, pro football, any type of sport that you can think of, even international sports like football, soccer. So again, BetUS, 125% bonus in your first 3 deposits, 10% gambler's insurance. make sure that you're using the promo code Pewter. If you go over to BetUS, they have Tampa Bay plus 6.5 right now. Matt, how do you feel about that spread? Obviously, the Buccaneers are home underdogs.
Yeah, it's interesting to see a number that high. I mean, I know the Bucs were on the road on Monday against the Chiefs, but they were actually able to cover that spread of, I believe it was plus 8.5 against the Chiefs. So
Yeah.
home underdog, getting essentially a touchdown, not too bad. What I will say, though, the over has hit in 6 straight games from the Buccaneers. So I know it's pretty high. It's fluctuated around 50.5 to 51. At this point, it's an auto play. You have to take the over in every single Bucs game. 6 in a row, 7-2 on the year. That's what I'm really looking at. But 6.5, I think is fair. I kind of like the Bucs on that one.
Well, and part of the reason why they've hit the over, unfortunately, has Todd Bowles' defense has given up touchdowns rather than field goals. We touched on that on Wednesday's show. This team really has got to play better red zone defense. And that's difficult because you go back and look at these quarterbacks, and we're going to get into our individual matchups here in just a moment. Matt, it started with Kirk Cousins, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. The next week, Lamar Jackson, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kirk came back, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Patrick Mahomes, who was upside down in the touchdown interception ratio coming into that game, 8 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He didn't throw a pick. He threw 3 more touchdowns, so 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. You look at Brock Purdy. He has not had a great season this year, 10 touchdowns, but 7 picks. The problem is in these last 2 games against Todd Bowles' defense, going back to his first NFL start in 2022, 2 touchdowns in that game, no interceptions, plus a rushing touchdown. And then last year, he completed 84% of his passes with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. So is this finally going to be a day where this defense can get an interception maybe?
I mean, eventually it has to happen, right? They can't go the rest of the season without getting an interception. I mean, I guess it is possible, but yeah, I don't know. The Bucs, their backs are against the wall, so at some point there has to be a turnaround. If not, then Todd Bowles probably should be fired before the end of the season, even though the Glazers won't do that. If this isn't the week, then I mean, they do get Daniel Jones in 2 weeks, and that's anyone can get an interception off of him,
right?
But yeah, I don't know. I just want to see something different from the Buccaneers today. It's really
I agree. Well, I'd like to see more of the same from the Bucs offense because even without Mike and Chris, they're putting up touchdowns. Sure, the scoring's dropped off from 30 when they did have Mike and Chris to 24 without them. But man, you got to give Liam Cohn credit. He has done a lot with a little in terms of what the Bucs have in their arsenal now, which has been depleted. But let's start off with the Bucs offense versus the 49ers defense, the key matchups presented by BetUS. Matt, Trey Palmer got going late, but kind of like what your clarion call was earlier in the show. Can any of these receivers just step up and have a day?
Right.
Will it be Trey Palmer today, who is playing in place, or who's facing Rock Ya-Sin in place of Travarius Ward, who obviously dealing with a very personal tragedy and has time off from the team? But can Trey Palmer get something going against a 49ers backup cornerback?
Yeah, probably not. So I'm going to take Rock Ya-Sin in this one. Even last week, Trey Palmer wasn't even really getting targeted until the end. They were getting looks at Rakim Jarrett. They were getting looks at Sterling Shepard. So, is this the week where Trey Palmer gets involved a little bit more? I mean, they gave him less snaps last week compared to the week before. So I don't know. I'm in the same boat with the Bucs wide receivers that I was last week with Yaya Diaby and Kalijah Cansey. Just, prove it to me before I start picking you. Now, Kalijah Cansey certainly did. He had 2 sacks in the game. So hopefully my doubt in these receivers leads to, better production in the game.
I'm with you. I'm not enamored with Trey Palmer. I just don't see. I think he's showing he's a 6th rounder. I just haven't seen anything to make me think that it can't even be number 3. I think he's number 4, number 5 receiver till I see more. The Bucs running backs versus inside linebacker Fred Warner. Warner is just the best linebacker in football right now. The coverage ability, 6 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, including a pick 6. He's going to have not just some duty with Rashad White and Bucky Irving out of the background or out of the backfield, but also getting some snaps and some coverage against tight end Cade Otton as well. But when it comes to making tackles, this guy does it and he's just a complete linebacker. How do you see the Bucs multi-purpose running backs running and receiving versus Fred Warner?
I hate having to pick against the Bucs running backs because I love the Bucs running backs. I love the trio that they have going on, even when they officially use Sean Tucker. But
Yeah.
Fred Warner's one of one. He's the best linebacker in the game. He does it all. He forces fumbles, makes tackles, as you said, can cover really, really well. So, as much as I really like the Bucs running backs, I'm not picking against the best player. Really, anytime there's a matchup and the person is the best player at their position,
Yeah,
it's very difficult to pick against them. So I'll go with Fred
I agree.
Warner.
Yeah, and Dre Greenlaw not playing. He's
Yeah,
really
that
kind of
helps.
the partner in crime with Fred Warner. He's on injured reserve, so that might help Tampa Bay today, and we'll see. Continuing on with those matchups for the Bucs offense versus the 49ers defense. Right tackle Luke Gedeke versus Nick Bosa. This is probably the most dangerous pass rusher the Bucs have encountered since Aiden Hutchinson back in week 2. Thankfully, the Buccaneers have Gedeke rather than the other guy that they had in there that was a bit of a turnstile in that game, Justin Schooley.
Yeah.
So I like Luke Gedeke's chances, especially the fact that he maybe not, is going to have a false start today because he's playing at home.
Ugh, that one
But
was bad against the Chiefs too. That
it
was like,
was.
he was moving. He was heading
Yes.
up the field with this false start,
Yeah,
essentially.
and he was going up against Fred Jones too.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Chris Jones. So
Chris Jones, yeah.
Nick Bosa versus Luke Gedeke. I've got to give a slight edge to Bosa. He's just on another level.
If Luke Gedeke can stay on side, I think he'll have a pretty good game. I mean, again, penalties aside, I've been pretty pleased with what Luke Gedeke has done, especially coming back from his concussion injury early on in the season. So, out of respect for Luke Gedeke, I'm going to give this one a push. Bosa's done some great things. He's obviously their best edge rusher, leads the team in sacks this year, but it's not a otherworldly type of production this year the way that TJ Watt is and some of the other edge rushers. So I'll go with a push.
Yeah, I think that seems fair. Let's continue on with tight end Cade Otton, who has been the Bucs weapon, the primary weapon.
Yeah.
Going up against a strong safety, Malik Mustafa. We liked Mustafa at the Senior Bowl coming out of Wake Forest. He's had a fantastic year so far, filling in for their, when you look at the plays he makes, he gives up some in coverage, but Hufanga, the strong safety, does come up with the ball, but he's an injured reserve today. Malik Mustafa is questionable, so we'll see if he ends up, being a game time decision or whether he goes. But whoever Cade Otton is going up against, he's going to have to win these matchups because he's going to have to be the Bucs Iron Man on offense again. I think this is a push. I like Cade, but I also respect the 49ers defense in their secondary as well.
Yeah, I think the Niners are going to end up maybe doubling Cade Otton or, having a safety over the top against him, even though he obviously doesn't have like breakaway speed or anything like that. With that said, this guy has earned my respect tenfold. I mean, what he's done the last 3 weeks, proving so many people wrong, including myself. I have to tip my cap to Cade Otton. I'm going to take him in this matchup because he's been everything to the Bucs in the passing game. And if they want to win today, that has to continue. So I'll take Cade Otton.
Yeah. Wide receiver Sterling Shepard probably going to see a lot more time in the slot today like he did last week against the Chiefs because right now they don't have Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. Yeah. So it looks like we're going to see more of Sterling Shepard in the slot playing that Chris Godwin role. Cornerback, nickel corner, Diamador Lenore has had a pretty good season so far. I think this is a push as well. Sterling Shepard has made some good plays. He's also 30, dealing with the hamstring.
Yeah,
he's not the kind of guy that is going to beat double coverage. And if they decide to double the slot today, I think it might be a very quiet day for Sterling Shepard. If he's singled up, he's got a chance. He's a crafty old vet. We've seen him make some plays for this offense.
Right. I'm hoping the Bucs are able to tap into whatever they found with Sterling Shepard on that last drive against the Chiefs. If they can do that, I'll take Sterling Shepard. If it's a repeat performance and they don't get him in until involved later on in the game, it's probably a recipe for disaster for the Buccaneers. But I'm going to stay positive and think that they do find a way to get Sterling Shepard involved. So I'll take Sterling Shepard.
There we go. If you're looking for the recipe for some good food today, maybe some food and fun and football, well, there's the best place to go that I'm going to tell you about. It's a place called Walk-Ons.
Game day at Walk-Ons is just different. And it starts with the way our teammates prep each dish from our scratch menu. No shortcuts. We are hand cutting every single mozzarella log straight from the block. Hand peeling, stuffing, and bacon wrapping each voodoo shrimp. Hand carving ribeyes for our steaks and po' boys. And hand slicing, then tossing our boneless wings in our house-made sauces. With wall-to-wall TVs and food like this, why would you want to watch anywhere else? That's game day. The Walk-Ons way.
You know, Matt, I think Drew Brees is a Bucs fan. You know, he supports Pewter Report. We're obviously a Bucs site, even though he was a New Orleans Saint. I think maybe that 2020 loss that he suffered at the hands of Tampa Bay in the divisional playoffs in New Orleans when he threw an interception on his last NFL pass to Mike Edwards, I think that turned the tide. Or maybe it was just the Buccaneers' Week 6 win over his New Orleans Saints, 51-27. I don't know. Either way, we appreciate Drew Brees for siding with the Buccaneers from now on and giving us those game day specials that you can find at any of the Tampa Bay area walk-ons in Lakeland, Wesley Chapel, or Midtown Tampa down there by the stadium. Saturdays and Sundays, great place to watch football, college and pro. $4.49 pints, $5.99 22-ounce pours of Michelob Ultra, Bud Light and Budweiser, $5 Heineken Silver 12-ounce cans, $5 neutral assorted flavors. And Matt, we hope that tomorrow will be a Victory Monday. We hope that's the case. We haven't had one in a while. But regardless of whether it's a Victory Monday or just another Monday, it is a happy hour Monday from 3 p.m. to close. So get in there and watch Monday Night Football tomorrow night at Walk-Ons and enjoy those drink specials and starters all day long from 3 on to close. And then if you do miss tomorrow at Walk-Ons, that's okay because they have happy hour all day on Tuesdays, including $5 Tito's. Wednesday and Thursday, a pair of happy hours from 3 to 6 and 9 to close. Great place to watch Thursday Night Football. And then, of course, Friday from 3 p.m. to 6 is their last happy hour of the week. And, Matt, you can find out more at walkons.com.
Yeah, tons of great food, fantastic options as well, all across the menu. So, yeah, check out our friends at Walk-Ons. Let's move over to the key matchups for the Bucs defense against the 49ers offense. First up, defensive tackle Kalijah Kancey against right guard Dominic Puny. Scott, who do you like in this matchup?
You know, I think Kalijah Kancey, he heard you, Matt. Maybe Diaby didn't, but Kalijah Kancey heard you, and he said, I'm going to show up for Matt Matera here and show that I can still rush the passer. 2 sacks of Patrick Mahomes. He's not the easiest cat to get on the ground, but it looks like we're seeing Kalijah Kancey kind of get back into form now. He's had 3 sacks since his return to action. His first sack of the season came against the Saints. It had been a while, but I think we're having Kalijah Kancey now back for good. Dominic Puny is a really, really good rookie. We loved him at the Senior Bowl. He was one of our Bucs' best bets, and I think he has some really good traits. He's a big guy. He's athletic. But I like Kalijah Kancey in this one. I'm going to give him the hometown crowd backing him up today. Might help with maybe a false start from Puny, but I like Kalijah Kancey today, man.
I'm going to take Puny to motivate Kalijah Kancey. No, I'm just kidding. Kalijah Kancey, yeah, he proved me wrong. I'm very happy to be wrong in that situation. I think it took a couple of weeks to knock the rust off, find the rhythm and the flow of the game and his role on this defense. This is kind of what we envisioned with Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey together, healthy, running roughshod in the trenches. Hopefully that can continue because we know how bad the outside linebackers have been. So it's a lot of heavy lifting for those defensive tackles. And, with Christian McCaffrey back and all the weapons that the Niners have, the best way to neutralize them is with a great pass rush. So hopefully Kancey can shine through in that situation.
That's right. We got the Bucs inside linebackers. And the reason why we say inside linebackers is it's going to be more than Levante David. It's going to be more than KJ Britt, who is still a Todd Bowles favorite for some reason. Vi Jones has been elevated from the practice squad, and we saw him get 3 reps. He got an entire series last week in Kansas City. The most athletic linebacker the Bucs have right now, running a 4.5 and a little bit more of a rangier guy at 6'3". J.J. Russell also finally, as we've been calling for, split time with KJ Britt. So hopefully it's still a collective effort. I think more J.J. Russell and more Vi Jones and less KJ Britt might be the formula for success today. But we're not Todd Bowles. But, Matt, how do you see these Bucs linebackers being able to cover Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield on those screens, the swing passes and
Yeah,
the
this is
flat,
a weird
and then
matchup.
stopping him
It's
between the
such a
tackles.
weird matchup because we're 10 weeks into the season and Christian McCaffrey's making his debut. So it's a bit of an odd one to kind of construct overall. But the Bucs inside linebackers have just been so bad. And not Levante David, he's been fine. But it's been abysmal with KJ Britt. The platoon situation, I don't know how much better it will be. I think it'll be an upgrade. But yeah, this is an odd one. I'll take Christian McCaffrey just based on his reputation, but we don't really have much to go by this season because he hasn't played.
Yeah. The third one, cornerback Zion McCollum. And listen, we could easily put Josh Hayes in here. We could easily put Tyke Smith in here because he's going to have to go against Deebo Samuel. But Zion McCollum, he does fine against speed receivers, but the bigger receivers like the Rashad Batemans have given him a little bit of problem. And Juwan Jennings, a big guy, 6'3", 215 pounds, not as fast by any means. So Zion certainly can keep up with him. But does he have the physicality to go up against Juwan Jennings? He'll see some time in the slot. So he's not always going to be matched up on McCollum. And he'll be going up against Josh Hayes as well. But Zion McCollum really shut down Xavier Worthy. He's playing great football right now. Can that continue today, Matt?
I think so. And I think one thing that's great about Zion's game is that he can get the better of wide receivers of all shapes and sizes. Like, it's not just the speed guy that he can dominate against. He can, get the better of some physical guys as well. He even talked about getting physical with Xavier Worthy. Jennings is a solid player, but, he's the third string receiver on the 49ers for a reason. Now he's upgraded to second string because Brandon Ayuk is out. But Zion's been a top dog this year, and he deserves that credit. So I'll take Zion in this matchup.
Yep. The next matchup, it's not Greg Gaines, but we should note that he is expected to play today. And I think that's part of the reason why the Chiefs were able to run on the Bucs defense last week was because Greg Gaines wasn't in there. He's very good at stopping the run. Another guy stopping the run really, really well right now is Yaya Diaby. He has played the run phenomenally. But can he rush the passer? Can he get to Brock Purdy, a guy that he sacked twice the last time that they played, going up against right tackle Colton McKivitz?
Yeah, Yaya's going to become a legend because he's great at stopping the run. Yippee. No, he's here to get after the quarterback, and he's not doing it. So I'm going to take Colton McKivitz because Yaya is not the number one edge rusher that we expected him to be. It's been a disappointing season. There's no other way to say it.
No, I think you're right. It has been disappointing in terms of his lack of pass production. I still hold out a little bit of hope because he is playing the run well. Eventually, the dam's going to break. I do think he gets a long way to sack today. He's had some success against the 49ers. Maybe that gives him a little bit more confidence. I don't know. I think that he has a sack today and shows up. Maybe not the way Kalijah Kancey showed up last week in Kansas City, but I think we're going to see a little bit better version of Yaya Diaby today. Our final key matchup, free safety Antoine Winfield Jr. versus quarterback Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has not thrown in an interception against the Buccaneers in his 2 starts. It feels like, Matt, whenever this team needs a play, it's kind of been Tyke Smith lately, but it should be Antoine Winfield Jr. He did come back, make a splash against the Saints with that 58-yard scoop and score off of the Tyke Smith forced fumble. It feels like if there is going to be an interception to be made, it's time for Antoine Winfield Jr. to live up to that contract. And he's been battling a foot injury, but it's time for him to put on the Superman cape. I'm going to call it today. I'm going to say Antoine Winfield Jr. gets an interception over Brock Purdy. Hopefully it's a meaningful one in a Buccaneer win and leads to a victory. But it's time for Winfield to become the playmaker that he was last year.
Yeah, you're usually right about these things. So I hope you're right on this one as well. I'm in full agreement, Scott. Antoine has, the foot injury obviously put a cog into the machine for sure.
Yeah.
They've needed him to be that hero. He had the moment against the Falcons where that was taken away because the stupid, we don't have a camera even though we're $1 billion company.
And he was almost breaking up that deep shot.
Yeah,
that he and Josh Hayes were.
He's been a couple of seconds away. He's been a couple of seconds away. Almost had the interception, against the Chiefs last week. It feels like we're on the brink of a big Antoine Winfield Jr. moment.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with a push because the Bucs haven't gotten any interceptions. So we're trying to manifest this, but they haven't shown it yet. So I'll take a push.
Yeah. Couple comments here we'll get to before we close out the show. Mobbing for Christ 30, appreciate this. He's a bull rusher, needs more in his arsenal, talking about Yaya Diaby. And I agree. And that's why I'm not a big fan of George Edwards. I've gone on record saying that. If Todd Bowles is still here next year, I think he's got to make a change there. I don't see the improvement from these outside linebackers. That does go to coaching, especially when you're talking about young players that still need to be developed. It's like Mark of the Wise says, Yaya is all graze the net and no dunk. And Yaya is backup quality kid, has no moves. He's got to get some more moves. He does. He's very strong. He's got a bull rush. You need more than that in the NFL. You need a counter. You got to have the ability to set players up with one move, whether it's bull rush to push pull, speed rush to the outside, and then a spin inside. You got to have more in your arsenal. He just doesn't have enough in his arsenal right now. And I blame George Edwards and the lack of development that we're seeing, not just with him, but with Jose Ramirez, with Chris Braswell, with Marquise Watts. I think there's some talent here that is not being leveled up. And that's the job of an assistant coach, is to level up guys. Sometimes, like JTS, he's not going to get any better. He is what he is. This is his fourth year. We've seen enough of JTS. He's had enough years, enough games, enough snaps, enough starts. I don't know that he is going to get maybe incrementally better, but he's not going to make a jump or a leap. These other young guys, I still feel like there's hope for. Time will tell ultimately, but they need better coaching.
A guy like Jose Ramirez, I know it was the preseason, but he had 3 sacks in a preseason game. You're telling me there's nothing there? He can't even sniff the field in the regular season? I mean, he's inactive every single week. You can't get him any reps with the lack of production they've gotten an outside linebacker. It's a little head-scratching. It
is. As we know, Todd Bowles is slow to make personnel decisions that he needs to make. It's been going on for quite some time. And, if this game doesn't turn out in the Bucs' favor, if this season does turn out in the Bucs' favor, those types of gaps, along with some game management decisions, are going to be the undoing of Todd Bowles. Everything changes today, I think, for this team. If they get a win today, if they can get to 5-5 heading into the bye week, it's a big psychological boost. It gives this team some confidence. This 8-game stretch starts with a win, which is important down the stretch, and it ends the losing streak. It gives the Bucs a head-to-head tiebreaker over the 49ers when it comes down to the wild card. And I will say this, the entire Pewter Report staff, except for one member, picked the 49ers today. That one member is Matt Matera, who picked the Bucs. Matt, what was your line of thinking in picking the Bucs today?
It's all the confidence I have in the Bucs offense. I think Liam Cohen's done a fantastic job. Baker Mayfield looked good last week, albeit in the pouring rain. I think they're going to rely on the strength of their offense, which is the offensive line and running the football. I think all of the running backs get involved, both rushing, obviously, but in the passing game. And they just find a way to keep scoring, keep it close with the 49ers. And then, I don't know, call me crazy, but I think the defense ends up making a splash play, maybe a sack in the red zone to cause a field goal instead of a touchdown. Just something like that. It's not going to be pretty. It'll probably be high scoring. The defense will still have a ton of flaws, but the offense is playing too well not to be rewarded for it. So that was my thought process behind it.
So the Pewter Report staff has not had any unanimous consent in any of the last 3 games. I went out on a limb and I picked the Bucs to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Obviously, I was wrong. I took the L. Last week, Josh Capo went with his gut. He picked the Bucs to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City.
Came very
close. They came that close. Yeah. Josh took the L. Hopefully, Matt Matera gives me and the rest of the other Pewter reporters an L today, and he ends up triumphant. And maybe he's the maverick that finally breaks through, goes against the grain, and predicts a Buccaneer win, and the team actually backs him up with that and delivers. So we've got a lot to get to today. The Pewter postgame show, and we'll talk about this in the postgame show, depending on the outcome. How hot is Todd Bowles' seat if we don't win? Well, we'll know by 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I know the Blazers won't pull the trigger midseason, but what do y'all think? Stay tuned for the Pewter Report postgame show. After the game, it'll be about an hour after the game. So we go down and we do the postgame. We do the locker room, Baker Mayfield's presser, Todd Bowles' presser, etc. So that'll be about an hour after kickoff. I'll be live at the stadium. Matt will be at the Pewter Report headquarters in Midtown Tampa. after he does a show that you all should tune into. It's called Pewter Game Day at 1:00.
That's right. It'll be myself, Josh Capo, having a blast watching live as the game goes on. Hopefully they win. You can see me gloat all about my prediction. I'm just kidding. I'll be humble about it. But yeah, the Game Day show is a ton of fun, and looking forward to it at 1:00 today.
Yeah. As Henry Giante says, post-game show is a must-watch. Yeah, we want you there, win or lose, right? Because we can do a couple of things. We can let you guys celebrate if there is a Buccaneer win. And, of course, Matt will be celebrating because then he'll move up in the Pewter Report picks standings. And we'd love to see that. And also, too, is should they lose, well, Matt and I are here for you. We are here for you to console you, to vent with you. And we can all do this together. So win or lose, we want you here today. We want you on the show tomorrow at 4:00. We do roll call at 4:20. I think it's the best show of the week, especially when it is a Victory Monday. So these next 3 shows, Pewter Game Day, 1:00, be there with Matt and Josh. Pewter Report post-game show, an hour after the game, be there with Matt and I. And then Matt and I will be there with you tomorrow. Hopefully it's Victory Monday as we start the bye week. If not, again, we're here to help you make sense of all this craziness that's gone on this season. Here to hear you vent, here to hear you and support you. Should this team win or lose, that's our pledge to you guys. So we greatly appreciate everybody tuning in to the Pewter pregame show this morning.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and we get to plenty of comments on all the shows as well. So you're very involved in it. Yeah. But that'll do it for us on this morning's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you soon for another Pewter preview show. Out.